ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. So welcome to our Saturday morning session on Bhagavad Gita, and we shall continue on the last part of chapter 13, Kshetra and Kshetragya, and then try to conclude this chapter today. Now, this chapter has told us already what is Kshetra, what is Gyan, and what is Kshetragya. These three things have been told in great detail. And now in this part, Lord Krishna is explaining that how by understanding those three things, we can actually reach the state of total liberation or moksha. So this is what we have to, this is part of sadhana. This is how a practitioner can actually practice in his individual life to understand all these. So we will continue on this. We will take verse number 27 once again, and then we will move to verse number 28. जो पुरुष नष्ट होते हुए इस चराचर भूतों में परमेश्वर को नाश रहित और संभाव से स्थित देखता है, वही यथार्थ देखता है. Now this is a very profound statement that we should see the foundation on which everything arises and disappears. Things arise and disappear like waves arise on the ocean and then disappear. The ocean is constantly there. Without ocean, there could be no waves. But because of the ocean, the waves arise and then they disappear in the same ocean. Let's take another example. We have an agricultural field. Since we are talking about Kshetra, Kshetra is basically a field. So we have an agricultural field. Now in that field we plow and we put seeds and a variety of herbs and crops, they come up, they grow, then they mature, and then they are finally dissolved back into the same earth. This process continues year after year for thousands of years. The earth, the field remains intact all the time. The field remains intact. Similarly, the Paramatma remains intact in this world. And all kinds of objects keep arising and disappearing. We come and go. For example, animal species, they come and go. Even moons and stars, they come and go. Earths come and go. Solar systems come and go. But the Paramatma, the foundation of all that remains intact. So this is how we have to see. Like in our case, the consciousness remains constant. The body come and go. The body comes and then it changes. When you are born, you are a small child, and then you become, grown-up child, and then you become adult, and then, you mature, and then slowly, one becomes old, and then one dies. So this process continues. This process continues in the ocean of consciousness. Consciousness is perpetually there, which remains unchanged, and this process continues on that consciousness. So this is what Lord Krishna said in this verse 27. Those who are able to realize the foundation on which all this universe arises, the physical objects arise and disappear, that foundation is Paramatma, or that foundation is universal consciousness. Then one can see the reality. That is what one actually sees. The word ye paschati se paschati means that is what you are able to see the reality in that situation. Now the verse number 28 is correlated to it. That is why I took the verse 27 once again. क्योंकि जो पुरुष सब में संभाव स्थित परमेश्वर को समान देखता हुआ अपने द्वारा अपने को नष्ट नहीं करता, इससे वह परम गति को प्राप्त होता है. Now, संभाव देखता हुआ. Sambhav means the person is looking at the ocean constantly and looking at the waves. The waves are arising from the ocean. Ocean remains constant and unaltered. This is how the person should look at himself. Now, the word here says, देखता हुआ अपने आप को नष्ट नहीं करता. Now, this is very important to understand this, why this word has been used. अपने आप को क्यों नहीं नष्ट करता? Why do we destroy ourselves? We destroy ourselves when we feel that I am separate entity and rest of the universe is separate entity. X is separate, Y is separate, I am separate. And therefore I can do whatever I like. When you get the feel of the ocean as one single entity, that separateness disappears. And that separateness is the root cause of self-destruction. When we consider ourselves as a separate, unique, independent entity, then the problem arises. Because our consciousness is part of the universal consciousness which remains unaltered. The only thing which alters is the kshetra. That is, our body is made of that kshetra. Body, senses, mind, intellect, all that will keep changing, and that changes. But the consciousness which guides all that, or which is the foundation of all that, remains intact. And if we realize that, then we don't destroy ourselves. But if we consider ourselves as a separate, unique entity away from the ocean or away from the Akash, then the problem arises. Now here, the Sanskrit word is Sam Vasistham Ishwaram. Now, Sam Vasistham Ishwaram means that Paramatma is omnipresent. Basically, he is everywhere. The same word, Isa Vasyam Idam Sarvam. Exactly the same wordings have been used here, that Almighty is supreme and he is omnipresent. Then, Samay Pashyanti Sarvatra. That he looks everywhere with equal, equanimity. He has no differentiation. Ocean does not differentiate between one wave or other. The Akash does not differentiate between big house and small house. The Akash is inside the house, outside the house. It is, the walls are there. When the walls are destroyed, the Akash is part of the Akash. So it remains completely intact without any disturbance. Similarly, the consciousness remains intact without any disturbance. It is one single consciousness which rules the entire universe. And that is what we have to realize, that it is not in fragments. It appears to be in fragments. Like houses appear differently. But in Akash, when the houses are broken, they are in the same Akash. One single, unified field is there. There is no, the houses are basically the division of walls. Similarly, we are the division of the body-mind complex which sets it aside. But the consciousness inside is the same. As the space inside a house or a godown or in a toilet is the same, or is the part of the same Akash. Similarly, the consciousness inside us is the part of the same universal consciousness. The distinction is only because we are segregated by this body-mind complex and we appear to be separate because of that. So we should avoid thinking that I am a separate entity. We should feel that we are part of the same universal consciousness. And once we have that feeling, then you will feel that you are part of Paramatma. Actually, you are Paramatma as well. And that is what Mahavakya in Upanishad say, Aham Brahmasmi or Tattvamasi. Basically, it means that everybody, every living being is basically a part of Paramatma or Paramatma himself, if we look at in the larger context. So this is what he wants to say here. Now, why do we destroy ourselves? We destroy ourselves because of looking at the kshetra, we put more emphasis on kshetra. We put more emphasis on our body, mind, senses. All the time we try to refine them. We beautify our body when we go out. We try to appear, handsome or beautiful. We try to wear clothes to beautify our body. We give lot of attention to our body and senses and the mind. We all the time talk about empowerment of mind, but at the same time we ignore completely the soul behind it, the consciousness from where everything arises. We ignore that completely. That is where the problem arises. If we start giving equal attention to the body mind complex, but at the same time to the consciousness from where it arises, then I think we will be more balanced as an individual. And then we will be able to distinguish between what is the eternal truth and what is nascent or transitory truth. The body mind complex is a transitory truth, and the eternal truth is the consciousness. So, this is what Lord Krishna has said. And in this context, we should also give attention to what he said earlier, that Janam, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. These are the four things which are the property of Kshetra. Kshetra will always have those problems. And these problems arise out of Kshetra. Kshetra has Vikar, that is the modifications. All the modifications happen in Kshetra, not in Kshetrakya. Paramatma is, like we say, Purnamadah Purnamidam. He is always complete. He has no alteration, there's no dilution, there's no depreciation. It is absolutely, constantly, eternally, absolutely stable and the same. So, this is what we need to understand from these two verses. And once we start understanding that, then we will distinguish between what is nascent and what is eternal. Now, verse number 29. और जो पुरुष संपूर्ण कर्मों को सब प्रकार से प्रकृति के द्वारा ही किए जाते हुए देखता है और आत्मा को अकर्ता देखता है, वही यथार्थ देखता है. Now, this is another very profound statement, that all the activities are done by the nature with the help of the nature. The consciousness is completely, absolutely, is not a doer, is not a party in the entire process. Let's understand our own self, our own body. Now I am speaking, you are listening. I am speaking with my senses, with my body, with my mind, all this put together. You are listening to me with your senses, with your mind put together. Now, all this activity is happening in the kshetra, in the body, my body and your body. Similarly, if I go for a walk, I'm walking with my foot, I'm, watching with my eyes, I'm listening with my ears. So, all those activities which I do, they are happening with the help of kshetra, the part which constitutes my body, my sense organs, my mind, my intellect. That is the one which is doing everything. The consciousness which gives life to all this system, it's absolutely non-doer, is not doing anything. Let us take that example of electricity once again. Now you look at a refrigerator. In the refrigerator, you have two sections, the deep freeze and the freezer. Now, the electric connection is done to the refrigerator. There's a section of deep freeze where things freeze at a particular temperature. There's another section on which the temperature is maintained as different. Now, the electricity does not play any role in that. It is the instrument that plays the role. The refrigerator plays the role. The body of the instrument plays the role, not the electricity. Because if you connect the same electricity to a heater it will start heating because the instrument plays the role, not the electricity. Electricity is not the doer there. The doer is the instrument. If you connect that electricity to my laptop, it will have a different function depending on the capacity of the laptop. So the point here is that electricity is neutral. The action is performed by the instrument to which it is connected. Similarly, the consciousness is neutral. It performs the activities based on the instrument to which it is connected. If the consciousness is connected to a lion's body, it will have a different activities. If a consciousness is connected to a person's human being's body, it will have a different set of activities. Even amongst human beings, if we are 7 billion or 7.5 billion human beings in the world today, each one will have a different set of instrument, and therefore the outcome would be different because the instrument is different. So here the bodies perform, the kshetra performs, the prakriti performs, and the qualities of the prakriti they perform, not the consciousness. Consciousness is absolutely non-doer. So consciousness is neutral. It does nothing. The doing part is all done by the prakriti. So this is what he also said earlier. There was a verse in chapter, I think 328, where he says, Guna gunesu vartante, that प्रकृति के गुण ही गुणों में आपस में इंटरेक्ट करते रहते हैं, और consciousness is absolutely silent, doesn't do anything at all. So this is what he is reiterating here, the same thing, that the nature is the one which is doing everything. The interaction of nature is happening. For example, we have a plant coming up. Now we see the seed, we sow the seed. Seed is part of the nature. It's a physical thing, and then the nature acts on it. You have wind, you have rain, you have sunlight, all that acts on it, and it becomes a tree. And then the tree gives you flowers and fruits, whatever, and then again it dissolves back into the same nature. Now the consciousness which came into the tree has no role there. It is the quality of the nature, the quality of water, the quality of air, the quality of earth, the quality of the seed, which plays the role in development of that tree, not the consciousness. But remember, without that consciousness, that tree can never come. Similarly, as without that electricity, that refrigerator can never operate. Similarly, without that consciousness, I can never be alive. I can never operate. My system will never operate. So that fundamental difference. Though the system operates because of the consciousness is still not doing anything. Now this looks very, contradictory, but this is true. This is the fact which we have to understand. Without the consciousness, nothing can operate. But still consciousness does nothing. All the activities are done with the nature, by the nature, in conjunction with the nature. So this is what he is saying here in verse number 29. कि जो पुरुष संपूर्ण कर्मों को सब प्रकार से प्रकृति के द्वारा ही किए हुए मानता है और आत्मा को अकर्ता मानता है, वही सच्चाई देखता है. This is what we have to understand. That though the consciousness enables everything, but still it is not doing anything. This is a very fundamentally looking statement, but looks very contradictory to our mind, because mind has intellect which tries to rationalize things, that if the consciousness enables us to do everything, it is a party to the whole process, but it is not. Only the nature is the party to the whole process, not the consciousness. So this is what we have to understand. This contradiction this paradox has to be resolved in our mind. Then verse number 30. जिस क्षण यह पुरुष भूतों के पृथक पृथक भाव को एक परमात्मा में स्थित तथा उस परमात्मा से ही संपूर्ण भूतों का विस्तार देखता है, उसी क्षण वह परमात्मा में लीन हो जाता है। जिस क्षण भूतों के पृथक पृथक भाव को एक परमात्मा में स्थित और परमात्मा से ही सब भूतों का विस्तार देखता है। नाउ दिस इज a very deep statement. Now let us understand this statement again with the help of Akash. Now if you see Akash, anything which exists in this universe exists because of Akash. If there is no Akash, neither the moon, nor the earth, nor we, nor a tree, nothing can exist. No solar system can exist. You need Akash first for all that to exist. So one thing is very clear, that Akash gives you the space for expansion of everything you have. Now second thing, everything you see also has Akash. I exist, I have Akash. The size of my body is in existence because of the Akash. Akash gives you that space for the body to exist. The earth exists because Akash has given that much space for the earth to exist. The sun exists because Akash has given that much space for the sun to exist. So all that existence has also taken part of the Akash, and because of Akash that existence is there. So these two things here. भूतों के पृथक पृथक भाव को एक परमात्मा में स्थित, मतलब all this existence which we see, they are in located or they are established all in Akash. And everything which exists also has Akash in it. Both the things. So this is what he's saying here, that everything which exists here has Paramatma in it, or has consciousness in it. And that consciousness, though appears separate, is part of the same universal consciousness, same universal entity called Paramatma. So this is what he wants to say here. And then he says, परमात्मा से ही संपूर्ण भूतों का विस्तार देखता है, because all the existence is in existence because of that universal consciousness alone. If the universal consciousness is not there, nothing of that sort will exist. It's like none of the waves will exist if there is no ocean. It is the ocean which gives existence to the waves. So all that exists in the form of waves, that exists because of the ocean. Similarly, all that exists in this universe, that exists because of the universal consciousness or the supreme force called Paramatma. Now, here there is, I want to make one distinction very clear, because we are taking this example of Akash to explain it. But Akash has also originated in another subtle existence called Paramatma. That is why in the beginning of this chapter, when Lord Krishna explained what is Kshetra, he started with Avyakt. He said Avyakt, and then he went to what you call the fundamental atom of the atom. And then he says 5 tanmatras. So all that existence came also from Avyakt. Avyakt is what? Avyakt is that consciousness, that supreme consciousness, from where 5 tanmatras also come. 5 tanmatra means the 5 the senses of perception, 5 senses of action in human body, and 5 gross elements outside, including Akash. So Akash has also its origin from that one particular force called Paramatma. So this is what I wanted to explain, that ultimately even Akash, ocean, everything, air comes from that one single source. And that is why we call it Advait Vedanta, that ultimately there is one single entity from where everything originates. In the modern language, they call it singularity. There's one single force from where everything originates. And that single force is Paramatma. So that is what Lord Krishna is explaining here, that all that manifest universe you see, all different entities, they all originate from the single force, and their existence is all because of that force. That is what he says here in verse number 30. And once we realize this, then we are one with that single force and we become Brahman, as stated in the Upanishads. Then verse number 31. हे अर्जुन, अनादि होने से और निर्मल होने से यह अविनाशी परमात्मा शरीर में स्थित होने पर भी वास्तव में न कुछ करता है और न ही लिप्त होता है. Now he is making it more clear here. The example which I gave, electricity and refrigerator or body and consciousness, he is making it very clear that ये परमात्मा शरीर में स्थित है, and this Paramatma gives us life, but still because it is very subtle. Nirmalka means very subtle. Anadi means it has no origin, it is eternal. Because of these qualities, he does nothing. It only gives life to this body-mind complex, and everything is performed by this body-mind complex. This consciousness is neither doing anything, न लिप्त होता है. लिप्त का मतलब, you must understand this word in Sanskrit. It's a very profound word. Lipyanti, lipt, lipyate. These are various variations of this. Lipyanti means things which get attached to you. Like you put your hand in water, the water will be attached to your hand. There would be some, small quantity of water will remain on your hand. You put your hand in earth, some earth particles will be on your hand. So वो लिप्यंती, वो आपके ऊपर जुड़ जाते हैं. They become part of you. You touch the air also in a very subtle way becomes part of you, that also lipyanti. That's why you feel the touch of the air on your body. But when it comes to Akash, it doesn't lipyanti. You pass through Akash, you don't feel that you are in Akash. You construct a house in Akash, you break the Akash through the walls, you don't feel that you are breaking anything. You don't feel it. The earth moves in Akash, the solar systems move in Akash, but there's no obstruction at all. So Akash doesn't have that quality of lipyanti. Actually, the consciousness is even predecessor to Akash. It goes back in, far back in the system in Akash. If you look at the origin, it goes back. It's the single force from where everything originates, as I mentioned just now. In that way, Akash has no lipyanti attribute. Similarly, consciousness obviously does not have any attribute of that nature. So nothing can remain attached to Akash. Similarly, nothing can remain attached to the consciousness, because consciousness is even far, far more subtle than Akash. Akash we can feel, but consciousness we cannot feel. So that subtleness and that eternal quality of non-depreciation, because of these two qualities, the consciousness is neither the doer nor attached to anything. If the consciousness is attached, then the karma theory comes into play. because then whatever you do, you have to pay for it, or you have to, take the results of it. But because of these qualities, the universal consciousness is not involved in the karma theory. The karma theory is applicable only to the nature. Now, verse number 32. जिस प्रकार सर्वत्र व्याप्त आकाश सूक्ष्म होने के कारण लिप्त नहीं होता, वैसे ही देह में सर्वत्र स्थित आत्मा निर्गुण होने के कारण देह के गुणों से लिप्त नहीं होता. This is precisely what we understood, that Akash has no quality of lippanti. You construct a big warehouse today, Akash is outside, it is inside, it is in the walls. The walls exist because of Akash. You demolish them, the Akash remains undisturbed as it is. There's no impact on it. You move through Akash, you don't feel anything. It is not lippanti, but if you move through water, you feel the force. If you move through the wind, you feel the force. It is lippanti. If you touch the earth, you feel, it is becoming part of you. So that way, Akash is absolutely nirlipt. Nirlipt means absolutely no attachment. We have missiles firing through Akash. Now, look at how the remote system for Chandrayaan works from millions of kilometers. It's because Akash is nirlipt. Everything in Akash, you pass through that, those signals remains completely undisturbed. And they reach the final target. So you are able to control a satellite or an instrument millions and billions of kilometers from here because of the Akash. This is the quality of Akash. Nirliptata. Nothing can get destroyed or disturbed in Akash. That is why we are able to control Chandrayaan from the Earth station in Bangalore. So this is how it operates. Now, next example he is giving. Hey Arjun, जिस प्रकार एक ही सूर्य इस संपूर्ण ब्रह्मांड को प्रकाशित करता है, उसी प्रकार एक ही आत्मा संपूर्ण क्षेत्र को प्रकाशित करता है. One single sun illuminates the entire solar system. Similarly, one single Atma or one single consciousness illuminates the entire manifest universe, entire nature. Entire nature originates from there. Like all the waves originate from the same ocean. Similarly, all things which happen in this universe, they are illuminated by one single force called Atma or Paramatma. Sampurn Kshetra, all those 24 elements of Kshetra we talked about, they are all illuminated by this one single entity called Kshetrakya. They come into being, they modify themselves because of that, they keep doing all their actions because of that, but the catalytic agent behind all that remains completely intact, unaltered, unchanged, unaffected. This is what he wants to clarify, giving these two examples which we can understand with the human mind, the example of Akash and example of sun. Then the last verse of this chapter, इस प्रकार क्षेत्र और क्षेत्रज्ञ के भेद को तथा कार्य सहित प्रकृति से मुक्त होने को, कार्य सहित प्रकृति से मुक्त होने को जो मनुष्य ज्ञान नेत्रों के द्वारा तत्व से जानता है, वे परमात्मा जन परम ब्रह्म को प्राप्त हो जाते हैं. Now all that he said, he has come back here. Kshetra has come back, Kshetrajna has come back. Vikar Sahit Prakriti, the word which has come into the first few verses, Prakriti Vikar ke saath, that has come back, Karya Sahit Prakriti. And then Gyan Netru, the knowledge which has been described in this chapter. In this chapter, we started with Kshetra, then we came to prakriti and its vikar, then we came to Gyan, then we came to Kshetrajna. And in the final part, how that operates, how that works has been explained. And if we can understand all that, then we can cross this ocean of sansar. संसार महासागर को हम तर जाते हैं, then we can liberate ourselves from the cycle of birth and rebirth, from the problems of what we call janam mrityu jara vyadhi, which are inevitable in this world. Apart from that, we have many other problems. Those are only the four which are per all the time existing for everybody, but there are many, many more which exist for us. All that can be overcome provided we understand this functioning of this universe in this particular way. So, this chapter explains to us the functioning of the entire universe, how the universe come into existence, how it operates, how the life force works, and what is knowledge, what we should know, what we should not know, or what we need not know, and how this whole system operates. How do we get dukh and sukh? How we get engaged into what we call rag and dvesh. Now, just to summarize this chapter at the end, I like to reiterate a few things. One is that Kshetra has, as we discussed, 24 parts. It starts with Avyakt, goes to Mahat Tattva. From Mahat Tattva, there are 5 Tanmatras. 5 Tanmatras are divided into 3 different things, that is 5 Gyanendriya, 5 Karmendriya, and 5 gross objects. So these 5 Tanmatras, 5 Gyanendriya, 5 Karmendriya, and 5 gross elements of nature or Panch Mahabhut, they make what we call 20. And Avyakt 21, then Mahat 22, and then Ahankar 23, and then this body, what we call inner instrument, that the mind, intellect, and Chitta and Ahankar, there's one instrument inside, it's called Antakaran. Now that Antakaran is another instrument, all that makes Kshetra. This is the Kshetra where all the activities happen. Kshetrajna is the one which provides consciousness, which provides the catalyst, which works as catalytic agent for this whole universe, for entire Kshetra. So the catalytic agent is constant, but not a doer. The doer is all these 24 elements. They cooperate with each other, they interact with each other. Mainly our sense organs interact with the gross elements outside in the nature, and that becomes vikar, that gives us dukh and sukh. When my eyes wants to see something good, and if I can't see something good outside in the world, then I feel bad. If I see something good, I feel happy. So happiness and unhappiness is the result of my interaction with the nature outside or with the individual outside. And if I get pain out of that interaction, then I develop dvesh, I develop hatred. If I get pleasure out of that interaction, then I develop rag, that I develop a sort of attachment. So these are the way we operate in this verse, in this universe. Then Kshetrajna is absolutely separate. It is absolutely prevalent everywhere, but it has no origin, it has no depreciation, it is constant, it gives origin, everything originates on that. It doesn't give actually, everything originates on that, and everything dissolves into that. Like we see we see the sun rising and then in the morning, and then it becoming very hot, or reaching the pinnacle in the midday, and then slowly it goes down, and in the evening it sets. Now nothing of that sort happens. The sun is constantly in the same way all the time, but we feel it because of the movement of the sun and the earth. Similarly, the movement of the natural forces creates this illusion that something is working, something is not working, this is originating, this is not originating. This illusion is all because of the natural forces. The natural forces have their movement, and that movement gives us the impression that things are rising and things are dissolving. But if we get rid of that illusion, then we will find that everything originates on that perpetual force called Paramatma and dissolves into that force. And there's nothing else. That is why we call this sansar Maya, because this origin which appears to us from our sense organs is a false appearance. It is exactly the same way as the sun's rising and sun's setting appears to us, to our eyes, that sun is rising and sun is setting. Though the sun is not rising, not setting, it is appearing to be so because of the movement around us. Similarly, in this universe, the the universal force is all the time constant, and the movement which appears in this world is happening because of the natural forces, and that movement is the one which we call in Sanskrit Maya. And that Maya is the one which runs this world, which provides us all kinds of attachment and attractions, and we work in that Maya all the time. And at the end, when our body mind complex becomes non functional, then we dissolve into the nature. So, this is what we have to understand, that we should segregate our consciousness from our body mind complex, and that exercise we have to do. That is the exercise everybody who wants to go on the spiritual path has to do. And that is what we do in our meditation session also. We try to segregate ourselves from our body mind complex. We keep the body separate, ourselves separate. We try to become observer. We try to observe our mind, and then finally we try to, you know, keep our mind quiet. We dissolve our mind so that there are no thoughts at all. So this is how the sadhana works, leading to us in a spiritual path. And that sadhana has been explained in very scientific way in this chapter. So with these words, we conclude this chapter 13, Kshetra Kshetrajna chapter, and next time we will start chapter 14. So thank you very much once again for your support, for your attendance, for all that, your dedication, for keeping this dedication for the last more than 2 years, and to Rajesh particularly, because he has been the operational part behind all that. The operation is happening because of him, and he sets all the technical side, he puts them in place, he makes the video and he puts them on YouTube. So thank you very much, Rajesh, for making it possible, and thanks to all of you that we are still connected after more than 2 years, and we are pursuing our journey vigorously on this path of spirituality. Thank you.